today we're reacting to baseball has a steroid problem again. Now, given being, I don't know very well. I've watched baseball from time to time. I've been to a baseball game, but I don't really I don't really know that much about baseball. But the channel called Baseball Doesn't Exist is where I get this video from. He basically breaks down a lot of stuff about baseball, that some stuff that I didn't even know. But one thing I didn't know was that baseball at some point was very high on steroids. Kind of like the NFL in the 90s in a way. No, 80s. I'll say 80s. And WWE in the 80s. Yes. The steroid era in sports has been an era that a lot of leagues don't forget. That's why steroids is such a big thing. But if this is coming back, and especially in the baseball, I wonder. I wonder. Let's get into the video.
This offseason, MLB completely stopped testing for PEDs. Last season, they didn't test a single player for human growth hormone. And in the month of August alone, 7 players have been suspended for taking banned substances, including an 80-game suspension for Fernando Tatis Jr. But according to him, he never meant to take this substance, coming up with an excuse so bizarre and far-fetched, he's been universally labeled as not only a cheater, but a liar and also an idiot. However, his excuse actually makes sense based on the test results when he took it and why. It doesn't really add up for Tatis to take the PED he's accused of taking on purpose. Whether Tatis took PEDs or not, players across the league definitely are and have been for over 100 years. Babe Ruth reportedly got a boost by injecting himself with an extract from sheep testicle. This made him say,
"What? From what? Wait, hold on. He got an extra boost from what? What?
Got a boost by injecting himself with an extract from sheep."
Babe Ruth injected himself with an extract from what? Sheep's from a sheep's testicle? The a sheep's testicle? The fuck? The f the f It's Babe Ruth? It's just Babe Ruth we're talking about. At the plate and in bedroom. That's why you
testicle. This made him sick, and he had to miss a game with a stomach ache. In the past 5 years, 80% of MLB PED tests came from Dominican-born players, the same country Tatis is from, where PEDs can be bought in convenience stores without prescription. According to reports, some of these players are forced to take PEDs as early as 11 years old.
11? 11 is crazy.
When players do get caught, they almost always come up with an excuse, resulting in some of the most ridiculous made-up stories ever told. And just like Fernando Tatis' ridiculous sounding story, nobody ever believes them. On August 12, 2022, MLB announced the suspension of Fernando Tatis Jr. Since then, Adidas has terminated their multi-million-dollar endorsement deal. Former pitcher Jonathan Papelbon said he would drill him every time he faced him. His own teammates said he needed to grow up and that the Padres, quote, didn't need anyone else, and his general manager said the team no longer trusted Tatis and needed him to mature. Villainizing players who test positive is standard practice in MLB because there is a long history of PEDs tarnishing players' careers. Bud Galvin was the first, all the way back in 1889 when he admitted to taking brown sea-quality Lexer, a testosterone supplement derived from the testicles of sheep and dogs. In the 80s,
You're telling me back in the 1800s, the late 1800s, they used dog and What the what the fuck?
In the 80s, players began using a PED that was way more dangerous and way more illegal than what is used today. Tim Raines admitted to keeping a vial of powder in his back pocket.
But that was during the era where people were doing that. That was the era when athletes were doing it. Some people just sniffing, coke before they play the game and shit. We don't know. A lot of people remember those eras.
During games and only slid head first so he didn't break it. This problem peaked for MLB in 1985 when 11 players were called in front of the Pittsburgh grand jury to testify with their involvement with the substance, and ended with the Pittsburgh Pirates mascot being sentenced to prison for supplying the players with powder. And then there were steroids, causing arguably the biggest PED scandal in sports history, forever giving MLB the reputation of a league filled with PED users. But compared to other sports, this really isn't the case, and today MLB may have the strongest testing system out of any of the major American team sports leagues. In 2021, MLB players got tested on average 7 times a season. The average NBA player got tested half as frequently. The NBA and NFL both use isoform tests for HGH instead of the more sophisticated and accurate biomarker test MLB uses. The test NFL and NBA players get only detects HGH if it was injected 10 to 20 hours before the test is taken, and on game days, players aren't even allowed to be blood tested until the game is over. Meaning, if you take HGH at midnight, the morning of a game, in the small likelihood that you are tested, it will be out of your system. And in the NBA, just to be safe, players get an extra 90 minutes from the time they're told they're being tested until they actually have to take the test. But MLB testing is far from perfect. In fact, in 2021, they didn't give a single HGH test due to the pandemic. And this offseason, MLB wasn't even allowed to test players because of the league-wide lockout, giving players a great opportunity to take PEDs without detection. Fernando Tatis Jr. claims he is not one of these players. On the day his positive test went public, he released a statement saying that he took the banned substance clostebol but didn't know he was taking it. That night, his mother came to his defense on Instagram, posting several pictures of a rash he had on his neck, saying the positive test came from a medication he used to treat his skin condition. A few days later, his father went on a radio show claiming Tatis got ringworm from a haircut and used a topical spray with the ingredient clostebol, a banned substance that, according to Tatis' dad, added no strength or on-field performance whatsoever. This explanation seems far-fetched, but it is nothing compared to past excuses. Barry Bonds admitted to taking PEDs, but said he only took them because he thought they were flaxseed oil. Ryan Braun set the record for having the highest testosterone levels in the history of MLB PED testing, with levels twice as high as the person with the previous record. Braun claimed he only tested positive because the person handling his sample sabotaged him because he was a Cubs fan and was anti-Semitic. Braun ended up winning the appeal, getting his suspension reversed. A year later, he got caught again and was suspended 65 games. Melky Cabrera failed a test in 2012. He made a fake website with fake supplements and started running ads for it, then pretended like he saw one of the ads while browsing the web, then bought a supplement from the fake website, which actually turned out to be synthetic testosterone, causing a positive test. MLB found out this was a lie immediately and suspended him 50 games. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s excuse was also immediately dismissed. Several doctors spoke out saying an anabolic steroid would never be prescribed for ringworm. A dermatologist claimed that a different topical steroid called clobetasol is, hinting that Tatis tested positive for clostebol, Googled it, got the drug confused with a similar sounding drug, clobetasol, found out that clobetasol is used to heal skin rashes, then claimed he had ringworm so he could say he used it for his skin. The problem is, clobetasol doesn't help ringworm and doesn't have the substance he tested positive for in it. But these doctors were actually wrong. But before we get to why they're wrong, a quick word from today's sponsor. If you think you may be feeling depressed, stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, today's sponsor, BetterHelp, is here to help you. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you from the privacy of your own home whenever it is most convenient to you. No matter who we are or what we do, pretty much everyone can benefit from therapy, and BetterHelp makes sure to match you with the right therapist. They offer a broad range and expertise with a network of 20,000 plus therapists that give you access.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a lot of bullshit ass stories. You're telling me someone made a website dedicating to him buying a drug online? For him basically buying PEDs. He bought that shit online. He made a website and got something from his own website, then said he saw an ad and bought it. Then Tatis thought he was searching up the drug, but turns out he said it wrong. And damn.
To the help that might not be available in your area. Just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in as little as 48 hours. Then schedule your secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can request a new therapist at any time with absolutely zero additional charge. So join the 3 million plus people who have taken care of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist, and get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/baseballdoesn'texist. That's betterhelp.com/baseballdoesn'texist. Clostebol is illegal and would never be prescribed in America, but Tatis is from the Dominican Republic, where it is legal and widely available. Unlike what this dermatologist claimed, Tatis didn't get Clostebol confused with the medication clobetasol because
Oh, nigga got the mispronunciation wrong. Cleppus. When is it? When? Okay, look, I'm trying to think. Okay. Yeah, one drug is
because the medication he actually claims to have taken was a topical spray called Trofabol, which does contain Clostebol and is used for several skin conditions. But would it actually be prescribed for ringworm? Dr. David Chow and Jacob Cisneros polled 3 different pharmacies in the Dominican. 2 said that there are better medications to take for ringworm, but agreed that Trofabol is widely available. The 3rd said that they regularly sell it to patients with ringworm. So the notion of Tatis being told to use this for ringworm is plausible. But if he did, why doesn't he have proof? In the Dominican Republic, most medications, including PEDs, can be bought in pharmacies by anyone without a prescription. So even if Tatis is telling the truth, he wouldn't have a prescription to prove it. It also is why players from the Dominican seem to be doing more steroids than anybody else. Since PED testing began in MLB, Dominican-born players make up 57% of positive tests.
57%?
Since 2017, they make up 80% of positive tests, despite making up only 10% of the league's population. Players from the Dominican can sign to a major league team as early as 16 years old. Most of these players go to an academy to train full-time in their pre-teens. A former Dominican pitcher estimated in 2005 that 90% of players inside these academies were on steroids. According to at least one account, it isn't uncommon for a player to start juicing at age 11 or 12, and some of these players may not even have a choice. According to one player at his academy, he was given what he thought were protein shakes. In reality, it was a cocktail of PEDs he never had any idea he was taking. Pedro Martinez says that 99% of Dominican players who test positive don't even know what drug it is because they're given supplements by their coach/agent without any choice or knowledge of what's in it. The average income in the Dominican Republic is $7,000 a year. A player who signs a $50,000 contract gets cut 2 years later without even coming close to the major leagues still makes life-changing money. So the decision to take PEDs is easy, especially since so many other people are doing it. Dominican-born players might not only be more likely to take them, they're more likely to get caught because they can't afford the sophisticated substances, doctors, blood tests, constant testing, and everything that goes into taking and making PEDs undetectable. 6 Dominican players were suspended recently for all taking the same PED called stanozolol, a PED that has been used since the 80s and can apparently stay in your system for months. It is extremely outdated, and a smart player with enough money would never take this. Fernando Tatis Jr. doesn't have this problem. He just signed a $340 million contract, and if he wanted to juice, taking Clostebol might be the last thing he'd choose.
Yeah.
Clostebol is an old anabolic steroid that, compared to other steroids, is a
Hold on. Unfortunately, while it doesn't produce many side effects, it doesn't produce an overwhelming anabolic effect either. This is likely the reason that it's been replaced on the ligament and illigament market by other stronger
extremely mild when it comes to building strength and muscle. The only reason an athlete would take this is because it doesn't have a ton of side effects and it used to be hard to detect, but due to better testing, it can now show up in your system at least 31 days after taking it. And what makes it an even worse drug for Tatis specifically is Clostebol is known to slow down bone healing. In 2021, Tatis separated his shoulder 5 times. The Padres medical staff advised him to get surgery on it, but he declined. He then proceeded to crash his motorcycle and fracture his wrist, and didn't tell the Padres until he got to spring training. When asked when the motorcycle crash happened, he responded by saying, quote, "Which one?" After a month of rehab, his manager claimed he gained 10 pounds of muscle, but before and after pics of Tatis don't show any significant muscle gain. And coming off an injury, it makes way more sense for him to take something like HGH, just known to speed up healing as good as anything. And even with MLB's biomarker test, it seems almost undetectable. The only MLB player to ever be suspended for HGH was A-Rod, and he never even failed a test. So Tatis either got terrible advice and was told to take Clostebol, which isn't that effective, is easy to detect, and prohibits healing, which is why he's had so many injuries. Or he's telling the truth about ringworm, which on the surface seems far-fetched, but Clostebol does have a history of causing false positives. A Norwegian skier had a very similar story after claiming she tested positive for Clostebol because a team doctor gave her a lotion to stop sunburn on her lips. The team doctor later resigned, admitting fault. Another athlete claimed he tested positive because he had intercourse with a woman who was using a cream with Clostebol in it. This was later tested in a lab using 2 couples as subjects, and they both tested positive, proving that this is a possibility. Unfortunately for the athlete, his suspension was not overturned. Tatis is in a similar position. In order to win an appeal, he has to prove the positive test was not the result of fault or negligence. Even if Tatis' story is true, he practiced extreme negligence because all he had to do was call the team doctor and ask if the spray he was about to use for ringworm was legal. The doctor would have said no, and all of this would have been avoided. When team doctors suggested he get shoulder surgery, he didn't listen to them. When he crashed his motorcycle and fractured his wrist, he didn't even tell them. So it seems like Tatis doesn't trust team doctors, which may have costed him an 80-game suspension. Or,
dude, you are the... Hold on.
He just wanted to get a performance benefit and picked one of the worst PEDs possible.
Dude, you are a $340 million player. You cannot be out here fracturing your wrist and riding a motorcycle. That is every franchise's worst fear for their star player, bro. Their worst fear is having their star player ride a motorcycle. They don't like that because you're riding a motorcycle, you're most likely to get injured that way. He got injured, what? You said which one for the crashes? Then he has shoulder surgery that he still didn't repair for. Dude, if I'm a owner, I gotta take accountability because that's my star player. If the moment he separates his arm, he gotta go to surgery so he can be 100%. And then he's gonna keep on riding a motorcycle and messing up his wrist. He can mess up his career that way. That's why we don't see a lot of people ride motorcycles like that anymore. Other than that, steroids in MLB is crazy, but given being they haven't really tested nobody. There's someone I don't think no one got caught with in the NFL that I haven't heard of like recently got caught with PEDs. I haven't heard someone get caught with PEDs in probably a minute. Which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. Well, people have getting scammed for, well, not scammed, but suspended for, you know, betting and shit. So, you know how the NFL is. But other than that, same thing for the NBA. Well, NBA, I think there was one. I gotta look it up. But other than that, if the MLB has returns to the steroid era, I think we might see a lot of home runs. But given being the MLB season, it's by the end. I mean, it's September. For crying out loud, it's September. It's just around the time the playoffs start. So kind of curious to see how who wins it all. Hopefully it's the Yankees because New York does need it. We do need the championship. Not gonna lie, but I'm interested. But more importantly, it's Thursday and college football is also today and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Blackboard TJ. Subscribe to the channel and we'll fuck with y'all. Peace.